Hello parents and parents-to-be, I'm Chrissy. I'm a board certified pediatrician. I'm here today to talk about sleeping. I hope that you are not up too late. I hope you're not being kept up by your infant and in a desperate attempt to do anything, you've clicked on this video. Sleep is a very hot subject right now. Every podcaster in America has it as one of their criteria for a good mental health and just good living in general. First of all, I am a pediatrician, but I'm likely not your child's pediatrician, and I'm obviously not your physician. You need to speak to your doctor. I'm giving general advice for the average 4-month-old, 4-month and above. But sleep training is an important thing. So the child should be well, should have a fresh diaper, should be well fed, all of those things before sleep training is even a viable option. Hopefully I can make this video a little interesting to listen to, because I know the subject can be filled with, types of sleep training methods and all the things. I'm gonna try to make it short. I'm gonna try to make it entertaining, at least I'll smile the whole time. I don't know. Why this is so important to me is that through my training and in my years as a pediatrician, seeing patients every day in clinic, I have some parents who haven't slept in like 2 to 3 years because their toddler at this point was never sleep trained. And then maybe they have a new baby on the way and they are like, I can't do this again. When can we sleep train? What are we going to do? On the other hand, there's parents who are first-time parents and they've heard some negative things about sleep training, which is all stemming from the study they did on Romanian orphans, and they're comparing these orphans with babies who are just trying to sleep through the night. So honestly, if there were any even slight chance that sleep training the appropriate age infant at the appropriate time were a problem, I wouldn't be coming to you with this. I have seen only positive things with families who are getting sleep. So I'm going to discuss what sleep training is, why it is so important, different methods for sleep training, and my favorite method. I'll of course discuss that. So to start, I feel like it's kind of like, duh, why is sleep training important? It's because sleep is important. If you watch any kind of health YouTuber, health podcaster, they'll say something about sleep. So we know sleep is important. It's just like protein right now. It's a hot topic. It hurts to be in sleep debt. If you are, fuzzy, you are reacting to things that you usually don't react to, you feel depressed, you feel anxious, all of these can be as a result of not getting the appropriate sleep. The first 2 weeks of parenthood are rough, right? You're getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep and you got to feed the baby on the schedule. So we're back to birth weight. And that boot camp makes you feel happy when you are able to get more than 3 hours. You're even like, 5 hours of sleep? This is a dream. And some parents want to stay in that cycle because sleep training just feels too daunting. What is sleep training? To me, it's the ability for your baby to self-soothe. Very simply, every time your baby has moved a little, whimpered, cried, you are right there for the child appropriately. At this point, the baby's sense of security is you. Everyone goes through sleep cycles. For an adult, they're a little longer than a baby, but we will wake up at certain times during the night. And if you're perimenopausal, something to look forward to, you might wake up for a couple hours overnight, almost every night. But for babies, they come out of their sleep cycles, and then what are they going to do to get themselves back in? They're going to do what they've always done, and it's either just move in some cases or cry, and their parents will help soothe them and they go back to sleep. In almost every case, this soothing involves getting their formula, breast milk, or nursing. Could you imagine if every time you woke up, you got to see the literal center of your universe? They held you and gave you a little massage and gave you your favorite food in the world. So equivalently, every time I woke up, Henry Cavill was there with his Superman arms, feeding me cinnamon rolls and just easing me back to sleep with a very nice, appropriate massage. I would want to wake up for that. With sleep training, we're essentially stopping the association with sleep, with feeding, and with getting meaningful time with that favorite person. It's important to note that 4 months is often when moms will go back to work, or parents in general would go back to work after a baby is born. And it's also the time when sleep training is possible. So for especially breastfeeding moms who are feeding in the morning, feeding at night, and that time is really important for them, don't worry about sleep training. It might be that you're doing it later, but that's just a caveat I wanted to put in there. I've alluded to it a few times that 4 months is the appropriate initial sleep training age. Most babies will have the sleep architecture in place to be able to sleep through the night at this time. And that's most babies, it's not all. Even though you're not starting sleep training officially until 4 months, some things, good practices, can be put into place around 3 months, let's say. So for instance, getting the routine down so that baby can start expecting sleep can be a good thing. Whether they wake up in the middle of the night, it's something that we can address when they're 4 months. The sleep routine is going to usually involve a bath, a bottle, book. Always read to your child, even if they're, 2 weeks old. But eventually brushing is also needs to be a part of that routine. So at 6 months, a lot of babies will get the bottom 2 teeth, and just getting used to the fact there's more teeth in the house can be a good thing. So having that bottle and then brush and then maybe book would be that routine after the 6 month period. Babies at 4 months and above can sleep for 12 hours, 11 to 12 hours. So the typical time where you're thinking about putting baby down, depending on who you are, and we'll get into that, but depending on who you are, the best times are usually somewhere from like 6 to 8. So anywhere in there, maybe 7:30 being the sweet spot. But this is assuming that you want your baby to wake up around 7:30, 7, 6, whatever time you're starting with. If you come from a family of night owls and you guys are routinely up until midnight, it might be that having a baby wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. is not ideal for your life. So in that case, it might be the appropriate bedtime might be somewhere from like 8, 9, 10, even 11, which I could not even imagine for myself. Often around 2 or 3 months, your baby will start giving you a longer length of sleep. So you might be getting 5 hours, or you were just getting it, every 2 to 3 before, 6 hours, 7 hours. If your baby is doing this pretty consistently, it might be that their sleep architecture is in place and they might be ready for sleep training. But I kind of give them a little bit of leeway. The parent has the choice of whether, okay, let's start the sleep training now, because this baby has shown that you don't actually need to feed the baby. They just happen to come out of their sleep cycle a little early. And because they've proven that they can sleep in that period of time at 2 and 3 months, you can stop that night feed. Remember that we are turning night from being the most interesting, incredible thing where you see your people, where you get your favorite food, to a boring process. So the one thing that is consistent in all the sleep training that you'll see is, first of all, to be consistent. We'll talk about that too, but you're not going to be feeding your child at night anymore. A child who's ready for sleep training is likely going to be following their curve. Parents have no concerns about, not feeding at night. In some cases, even an underweight child is going to be ready to sleep through the night, and waking that child up is actually kind of a problem. So that's one case where pediatricians will differ on their take on it. Check with your pediatrician if there is a weight concern. Sleep training methods are numerous. I'm going to go over a few of the most famous ones, but there are probably as many methods as there are parents who are trying to do it. The first method is the Ferber method, which is named after the physician who popularized it. It is the idea that you are going to let your child cry, but you are going to check on them. So the first night you lay them down, they're drowsy, going to sleep, but not completely asleep. That's ideal to put your child to sleep when they're drowsy, but not asleep. And then you leave the room, they're crying. They might cry immediately, they might sleep. Either way, you'll check on them, especially if they're crying, at that 5-minute interval, and, show them that you're there. Whisper, I love you. Just pat the stomach. Do not pick them up and rock them. Again, we're trying to take away all the benefits of waking up at night, which would be obviously to be cuddled in the arms of your center of your universe. So you're not picking up the child and you're not feeding them. That's the core in sleep training, I would say. But in the Ferber method, again, you're gonna, pat the child, brief. This is like a 30-second kind of thing at the most. And then you are exiting the room. Baby cries again, you wait 10 minutes. You go back in, do the same kind of thing. Keep it brief, keep it boring. You leave the room. Hopefully they give you a longer interval, but maybe they're crying again right away. This time you're going in at 15 minutes. And so this is how it kind of progresses. I would say it takes about 2 weeks or so to really have them sleeping through the night. So it's basically everything except for cry it out, just spoiler alert, is going to take more time. The next methods are kind of the same to me. In the comments, you can tell me if you found a difference between them, but the fading method and the chair method, basically the chair method, you have a chair, you're close to the baby, but every so often, it could be days, you're distancing your chair from their crib more and more. They can see you when they wake up, you're in their eye line, but you are progressively leaving the room, basically. So you're progressively getting farther and farther away from the crib until you're out of the room. And again, this can take a lot of time because night by night, you're slowly fading away. You're slowly moving that chair out of the room, and eventually you're out completely. The next item would be, there's so many that are just like, I don't even want to mention them because to me, it just seems like it would just take too long. So the pick up, put down method, you are staying pretty close to the child, but as soon as they cry, you are there, you pick up the child, you put them down. So you are there for the child. When they cry, you pick them up, you soothe them. And then when they're soothed, you put them right down. And then if they cry again, it could be 5 minutes, it could be immediately, you pick them back up and you soothe them and you put them down. So you're doing this as much as you have to over how many nights it takes. But again, with this method, the point is you're also not, it's very brief. You're picking them up, but you're not rocking them. You're literally picking them up. Usually they'll stop crying right away often, but you are picking them up, putting them down, and you're not feeding them and trying not to make it too interesting. So yes, as a method, it's one of them. It just seems really hard to me it seems very hard. The next method is the famous cry it out method. This method by kind of anti-sleep training types is pointed to the most. It's the hardest method for parents. Hi everyone. Editing Chrissy didn't like filming Chrissy's characterization of cry it out. It seems harsh and anathema to everything you've previously done as a parent. You're trying to break a habit cleanly. So don't go into the room. You will know that your child's safe because you likely have monitoring software. And in the morning, you'll go to that child and dote on them like you've never doted before. The last thing I'll discuss is like a sleep consultant or sleep training consultant. I'm hoping that this video will be enough for you to do the sleep training on your own, but I've had a lot of friends who have had sleep consultants and have somebody to talk to, somebody to detail sleep-wake windows and really walk them through the process of sleep training, then later be available, depending on what kind of package you buy, for a call if there's a regression or something else happens. So experience are good, but I've heard wonderful things from people about getting a sleep consultant, but financially it can be a lot of money and an extra budgetary item. So hopefully the ideas in this video will help you not have to if you can't afford to have one. Prices range, the packages, it seems, from like $80 to thousands of dollars, depending on the number of children. Like if you have twins, for instance, it's going to be more, and the amount of communication that you have. So if you're having direct one-to-one contact with your sleep consultant, of course, it's going to be more than if you're just getting a package where you get a general idea about the sleep training landscape. So those are your options for sleep training, the ones that I think are worthy of being discussed anyway. So now I'm going to talk about my personal favorite method. You probably guessed it. It's the hardest, but it's the best. So the cry it out method to me is the most effective. And I almost feel like a lot of the times people end up doing cry it out after, 2 weeks of being exhausted trying Ferber and other methods, just because it just, you get tired. You're working so hard at this. It can be more difficult to actually go in and see your child crying than just to stay out. I've had one family complete training in one night with the cry it out method. And it's only one out of thousands. It doesn't take one night usually. Sleep training is going to take With the cry it out method, I've definitely seen an average of 2 nights. The most important points for sleep training in general are to be consistent. If you're really working on sleep training, you really shouldn't at any time break down and break out the bottle. So if you have that impulse, like, oh, this would all be done if we just gave the bottle, they'd be down in like 30 seconds. That's true. But that short-term gain is just like long-term not great. So in the long term, the child could be sleeping 12 hours every night. You could be sleeping 12 hours every night. So it's really important to pick a time when you are ready. You are like, I really want this done. I'm not going back. My child is healthy. We are in a good position for this. They're well fed, diaper is dry, everything, all systems are go. They're 4 months, everything is working for us. That's when you want to pick a weekend. Usually it's a weekend where you want to just know that you might be a little more stressed in the short term, but then you'll have that long term, like Monday night, you might be sleeping through the night and not getting up once. It can be that one parent who is really nervous about sleep training needs to wear headphones and lock themselves in a closet so that they are not aware that the child is crying, because it can be that stressful for the parent, versus, parents who are just so ready for it that they're like, just give me the okay, doc, and then they go and sleep train. So if a majority, let's say like 75% of my patients, my parents, are able to sleep train in 2 to 3 nights, there's a small percentage who don't get it done, and it's because of this error. They listen to their child cry for 20, 30, 40 minutes, and oh my gosh, they just couldn't handle it, and it is understandable. But then they get that bottle, and of course immediately fall asleep, everything is good. They will know, all I have to do is wait, 40 minutes, mom will be here, don't worry. And they will wait that amount and more. So be ready for it. They are going to cry every night of their lives. They've had you come in and soothe them. They've had you hold them, and they've had you feed them. They're hungry. Let's face it. Their bodies are used to getting food at a certain time. Just like if you fed me a pizza every night at 12 a.m., my body would respond to that, and I would have that stomach growl. I'd probably wake up for it because my body's so used to eating at that time. The same thing with your baby. We're essentially just breaking a habit. We're helping them have a new schedule and pattern. I'd say the most important thing is that when you do deem your child ready to sleep train, you are ready to sleep train. Commit to the process, commit to not feeding at night, commit to brief, boring interaction, and you're going to be successful.